Welcome to the Help Myself podcast. Listen, I'm not going to even get into the way that I normally introduce because I've got some special guests. You know why we are here on a Wednesday night at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 7 p.m. Central Standard Time. We've got a special event going on for you tonight. So I am super excited. I think I always say I'm super excited. So I'm just a super excited kind of guy, but I am really excited. Listen, I would say it was around February. I was looking at the video and I was like, it couldn't have been 2022 because I had a beard, so it had to have been after my retirement. So it hasn't been as long as I thought, but it's been too long. We had 4 amazing couples on with us, and they talked about everything from how they met, what they do to stay together, what their dreams, goals, how do you figure out purpose, how do you support your partner. They dropped gems. One of the brothers who I'm going to tease as soon as we get everybody on the stage was super, super emotionally vulnerable, and everything just made that show chef's kiss. And so we had such a good time. We decided that we would bring them back for relationship roundtable part 2. But here's the great thing, usually you have these situations and people move on this way or that way. But I want to let you know that all 4 couples are back and they are doing better than ever. They've got all kind of wisdom, knowledge, and a nice little bit of tea to drop for all of us. So without further ado, let's get into our intro, and then we'll introduce our couples and get the show started. Because I got some questions and they got some answers. All right. So I'm looking. I see somebody sitting in their car. So we're going to bring on who we affectionately entitled the OGs, Rochelle and Matthew Smith. We'll bring them to the stage first.
Hey.
Hey. Look at that man driving.
Hey there.
All right, now don't get distracted when you're giving us all this wisdom now, all right?
No, I promise I won't.
All right. Next up, we are going to bring Brittany and Demont on stage. What's going on, people? Now we're going to bring on, and this is the gentleman I was teasing in my intro with his vulnerability, but I promise you it made the show so much better. I truly enjoyed it. Let's bring on Jeremy and Asia.
How you doing?
And last but not least, Gary and Sierra. And I'm having to go back and forth with my little sister on what names to put on, but
what?
Here they are.
Yeah, apparently on the intro, it's the boots.
Oh.
Yeah, it was on the intro. Y'all just put me out there like that, emailing me the names you wanted, and then decide at the last minute you want to change the names. But, all of us that know and love Sierra know that sometimes that's how it is with her. We see no ring. We see. Yeah. So how's everybody doing?
It's Gary and
Okay. Okay. Yeah, let me show y'all how she wanted to change the name. It's Gary and C.
Right.
There you go. All right.
Yeah.
So everybody, all of these amazing couples, they submitted questions. I went through the questions, filtered them for redundancy. It's amazing how all of these couples are so like-minded. And I picked my personal favorites. So I'm the host. So y'all just got to live with it. You know, sometimes life ain't fair. And then I added a bonus question because this question is it's amazing. And I can't wait to get to the bonus question, but we're not going to start with the bonus question. But you know what we will do? We'll start with an introduction, and I'm going to start with who's sitting at the very top, my left, maybe to your right on the screen. So, Brittany, Demont, why don't y'all introduce yourselves and say a little bit about yourselves for everybody that's watching?
I'll let you take this one.
So I'm Demont, and we have been together what now? Almost 6 years. I don't know. Been together almost 6 years. It's been ups and downs, topsy turvy, but I love her nonetheless most days. When she's not trying to kick me out.
We're not accepting that introduction. We don't believe none of that.
Wait, but he forgot the best part. Or are we not giving updates yet?
Let's wait. Yeah, let's wait. I was gonna say, you know, you got the mic, but yeah, let's wait. You know, let's share your news a little bit later. Even though I think everybody kind of has an idea of what's going on now that you just kind of let the cat out the bag a little bit, but but that's all right. That's all right. Next, right above me, we've got the Smiths.
Mm-mm, mm-mm.
Uh-oh, my mic is muted.
Hey there.
Okay, perfect. I had to travel for work, so we are in two different locations, but always still one. We are the Smiths. We are 34.5 years in, celebrating 35 in February, and we're going strong. We're going strong. As Demont said, life's right. Life is lifing, but we are doing it together, and we're here to encourage and support all of your listeners.
Glad to have you, Matthew. You got anything for us? You know, you had lots of stories last time. I know you're driving.
Yeah, I just had to leave a mixer and Fashion for Life. We just won a huge prize, and but yeah, man, we are unfortunately apart from each other. She's traveling for business, and I'm here and doing business as well, and ready for her to come on back home.
He ready for you to come back on home now.
Yes, I'm ready. I'm ready too.
All right. Let's see who's next. Jeremy, Asia, y'all want to go next?
Cheers. All right. So we're back. We have Jeremy, Asia. Sorry, y'all. My brain is a fog right now. But yeah, no, we have been dating 2 years. Finally made things official like 7 months ago. So we are in a really good space right now. And just getting our lives together, getting prepared for new beginnings.
New beginnings for sure. They made it official, y'all. And last but not least, Gary and C.
I'm not fooling with you today. Hello, everybody. We're so happy to be back to join you guys. Gary and I have been dating for 4 months now. Let him tell it.
I knew she was gonna say so. I'm surprised you said that. Yeah. Oh, Gary, Bowie. And I think there's a correction to the time we've been together. I believe we're going on 9 months.
We're going on a year. God, man, listen, I can't. We were like 8 months in. He's like, it's been like 4 months. See, we have this fight all the time, but we're happy to be back to share with you guys. So thank you for having us.
We 10 minutes in and y'all already arguing. Okay.
I'm striking out already.
Yeah. All right. So let's start with the first question. And I'm going to make this one whoever wants to answer. But the first question, and these are from the couples. Don't y'all blame me for these questions because I would never ask relationship. I'm the last person to need to be asking anything about relationships. I'm just honored that Sierra wanted me to host. But the first question is, since the last time we all met, what is the best piece of advice do any of you have to give to yourselves or to any of us? And don't all rush to answer at one time.
I'll take it. For me, I would say the best piece of advice I have for myself is trust the timing of my life. I think that we put ourselves on a time schedule of when we want things to happen in our life, and we try to stick to those goals or to those time frames. And you have to trust the timing of your life and just know that even if you're not hitting these goals by these dates that you set, it doesn't mean that you're falling behind in any way. And so I'm learning to be patient with myself, to give myself grace. I'm an achiever by nature. And so I drive home anything that I'm doing. And sometimes that spills over from professional to personal too. So Gary would be like, what? Right? So give myself grace and trust the timing of my life. The advice I would give to other people is just the same. You are the measuring stick. There is nobody to compare your life to say, well, by this age I should be here, or by this time we should be here, or whatever the case is. And I think more than anything that really applies in my relationship. People think that you have to date for 8 years before you decide to get serious and get engaged and get married. And I really am learning that the quality of my relationship is me trusting the timing of my life and allowing it to evolve naturally, just how it is, versus thinking it's too soon to feel this emotion or that emotion. So I am learning to trust the timing of my life, and I extend that same advice to any of the viewers that are here today.
Well, I would say I would kind of compare it like the situation of sending out an email without maybe double checking and reading it before you do it, because once it's out there, it's out there. So my advice would be slow down before you rush to judgment on something or want to give an opinion. So that would be my advice. Read over it first before you just press send.
Okay. Relationship advice. When you send that racy text, read over it first.
Not racy.
Has he seen the text on the fly for me? No, it's funny.
No, I'm just putting it in a general sense, and that's with wanting to have a comment and wanting to say something. It relates to patience too. So I guess you can equate that as well to patience. And is it worth it? Think about that. You're gonna start something to satisfy your own personal argument, or I'm not argument, but belief, or is it something that could be compromised or considered? So just kind of think about it first. So I would equate to that to patience.
I ain't putting no pressure on you, Gary, did I?
No, not at all.
Anybody else want to take a swing at that question? Oh, they quiet this year. Last year, they had all of the... All right. Well, thank you, Gary and C. We're going to go into the second question. And you know what? I'm going to pick somebody because I kind of like this question. Kind of speaks to a hilarious introduction that happened tonight. But the question is, what rules, guidelines, best practices do you use to come back from fights or arguments? And what does the repair look like? And I'm going to point that question to Brittany and Demond.
There we go. Sorry, we were muted.
So think about rules. That's a tricky one because I think you come up with some rules and agreements. Some of them work, and then some of them don't. And you find yourself going back to the drawing board. I think one thing that we have just recently come up with is we fight dirty. Not to put all our mess out there, but we're both very type A, stubborn, kind of bullheaded people. And so one of the things that we've just recently done for ourselves to ensure that we don't get to spaces where you can't come back from is we came up with a term called AWOL. And that term for us is a breaking point where it is an acknowledgement where we have one of us recognizes we are no longer on the same team in an argument. And so within an argument, what often happens is you are faced with a problem or a miscommunication or something. And within that argument, it should be the way that it should be is the two of you versus the problem. And so what often happens is at some point when arguments go on and on and on, it becomes you versus the other person whose perspective is more right than the other person's, who's more right, who's wrong. And then it's no longer even about the problem itself. It's just about who's right, who's wrong. And you spend the majority of your time arguing about that. And so her and I have kind of recognized that within our relationship. And so we came up with the term AWOL. So when one of us says AWOL, it's time for us to take a break. It means you have gone rogue, or one of us, we have gone rogue. We're not on the same team anymore. We need to take a break from the argument or from the conversation and come back and remember we're both on the same team fighting the problem, not each other.
Man,
I love that.
yeah, well said.
Yeah,
You know,
he definitely said it perfectly. I think a lot of times in arguments, it's almost kind of like fight or flight. And, once you recognize just the type of person that you are, and of course, what is necessary for your relationship, there are times, of course, where you try to push through it, right? And then there's times where you do need that break to be able to step away and like regain your thoughts, perspective, and like, what was the purpose of that argument? Got it. Like, because sometimes that can get lost in translation amongst all the things. And so the key, of course, is making sure that you do come back and you do talk about it so that it does not fester and continue to grow. And sometimes those feelings spill into the next day. But they may be more on the calmer side of things, where not only you're recognizing things that you did to contribute to that argument, and obviously things that your partner did to contribute, but you're more in a space to kind of hold yourself accountable for your actions, whether versus being in the heat of the moment. Sometimes it's very difficult to be able to see that and to be able to recognize that through all of the emotions that are happening and taking place. So not perfect, but definitely still figuring that out. But it's definitely something that we've come up with collectively to try to mitigate things and make things work for us in terms of building better communication. So,
I got to give Demond a lot of credit, man, because her parents are on this live stream. I would have been soft shoeing. This is my queen. I never disagree with her.
Real talk 101.
I'm telling
They,
you.
they know what they raised. They know what they raised. This is a product of the Smiths.
They raised the woman you love. That's what they did. See, look at that. This ain't even mine. I'm soft shoeing. Dun, 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 dun.
Trying to help them out.
Anybody else want to jump on that question?
I'd say for us, at least I don't even know if we collectively have agreed to this, but it's very similar to what Demont and Brittany shared. And that's the gift of time and giving your relationship the gift of time, especially when you've had an argument or a disagreement. For lack of a better way to say it, I force time. I'm not a debater. And my husband is better at debating than I am. And so he's also the kind of person, he wants to resolve it right away. And that's not a bad thing. But I also am that person, because I'm not a debater, I have to kind of get myself together and get my thoughts together. And so to force each other to have a conversation that we're not necessarily both ready to have doesn't help us. And so for us, I think it still has worked well in terms of a guideline or a rule. It's not necessarily an official rule, but the gift of time and giving each other the time to reconcile, or time to understand what's happening, where the disconnect is. If it's something that perhaps, like you said, if it's something that's below the line, if you will. For us, it's, the flag on the play. We love football, so we use a lot of football analogies. And so right away, one of us knows, flag on the play. Hey, you've crossed the line. But more than anything, giving each other the time to get our thoughts together before we come back or before we discuss whatever the issue is. And I'll be the first to say, I'm not always the first person to bring it back up. And I should be, and I should do a better job at that. He's more inclined to come back and go, okay, well, when are we going to talk about this? More so than I am. But I still think that the gift of time in the relationship, and especially in an argument, is important, because you can kind of cool heads prevail, right? And so you can kind of manage through some of your own feelings and emotions prior to having to get into the heart of the discussion at that respective time. So that's my point of view. I think he's just listening. He doesn't know you've turned it to him. Babe, you have anything to add? Okay.
Yeah.
One
of the things, one of the part two of the question had to do with the repair and what does that look like. I think in any argument, part of the repair starts with forgiveness, and what forgiveness means to one person is quite different than what it really actually might mean. Forgiveness, as a believer and a Christian, forgiveness means that I don't make the person walk through the stuff or the infraction that they might have caused. In other words, if a person genuinely says, I forgive you, then my responsibility as a person doing the forgiving, my responsibility is to make that person feel as if they never did me wrong. And that is a very, very difficult thing to accomplish, but that's what the repair looks like in the beginning. And the other part of that is part of the process of reassuring that person that their wrong is not going to be held against them. So that in of itself is a real extensive journey, and it takes a lot of discipline in order to actually operate in that realm. But if total healing and restoration and reconciliation is going to take place, we got to start with the forgiveness piece. And forgiveness will then open up an opportunity to be able to communicate, and communication leads to collaboration. In other words, once we have some good communication, we can work together to achieve the goals that we need to achieve when it comes to restoring our relationship. That's all I have, man.
Oh, that was a lot. That was a lot. That was a lot. Anybody else want to take a crack at this question?
Yeah, I actually want to piggyback on that. So I think it's important in relationships that when an infraction occurs, that a space is created for your partner to be honest about how they feel about that infraction. And sometimes when that space is not there, that person is made to have a conversation, but kind of a conversation with guidelines because that space is not there to where they feel safe to really give you my full authentic feelings of what I feel about this infraction, right? And so what happens is these protected conversations, which is not revealing the fullness of what I feel about this infraction, takes place, and the two would think the issue is resolved, right? Because you've talked about it, but really we've talked about it, but I've talked about it under a guideline of, I know I probably really can't say how I really feel because, and that's a lot of relationships, is that there's not a space where you can share your authentic feelings. And so sometimes when you have conversations where a safe space isn't there and you talk about things and you decide that we're going to move past it, there's a piece of it that's still holding on with either with one party or the other, because it's like we talked about it, but I really didn't get to share my authentic truth because I was still just kind of holding back because I know that this person, my partner, may not be able to handle my authentic feeling. And so now the partner feels like we moved past it, I've forgiven you, and we moved on. And to Matthew's point, I agree, right, Matthew? When you have a conversation and you guys decide that I'm going to forgive you, I believe that in true forgiveness, to Matthew's point, you should be made whole, right? But sometimes that forgiveness is not all the way true because there wasn't a space created from the beginning to where I could share my authentic feelings. And so it's like, I'm forgiving because I want to try to move past this, but I really didn't give you the fullness of what I truly felt about the infraction. So I just think that in relationships, even in friendships too, this applies to any type of ship. You have to create a space for the person that you love, be it a friend, lover, what have you. You have to create a space for the person that you love to be able to bring their authentic, raw feelings without feeling like they're going to be attacked for sharing their truth without this person playing the victim, and without this person made to feel guilty for sharing their authentic feelings. Case in point, using myself as an example, me and my son just had a conversation the other day, and he shared something with me, and it was his truth, and it was not easy to hear, right? But I, in that situation, could not show an emotion of anger or mad, even though it wasn't easy for me to hear, because that is his emotion. So how dare a person make someone else feel bad for sharing how they feel about how you made them feel, right? And so I just caution friends, I caution family, I caution lovers to keep things truly authentic. Be sure you're creating a space that your partner can share their authentic feelings so that true healing can begin for the both of you when it comes to whatever the infraction may be. And be mindful that even though it's not easy to hear, you can't attack that person for telling you how what you did made them feel. I'm mad about you being mad at me for what I did. Like, think about how that sounds, right? And so that goes with family, friends, lovers. And so I'm really myself being more intentional about ensuring that with my friends, my family, my loved ones, my partner, that I am working on me creating a space that, regardless of what the people that I love share with me, good, bad, indifferent, not easy to hear, that I give them a space to feel safe to do that, so that we can really begin to heal the root cause of the issue.
Well, I'm gonna package this up and I'm gonna sell it
from that adage, because you waste time if you're not being real, if you allow a person not to be real. there's no growth in that. So we really try to walk to that kind of that adage, just keep it 100, be honest. That way we can both, if it's something hard for us to deal with, we reflect. If it applies, make the change. If it doesn't, respect the opinion and keep it moving. But you learn something in the process. So
Look at that. Anybody else got something? We got all of this knowledge and wisdom going on. No.
I mean, I would say, we kind of take everything a little bit of, what everybody else is saying. That forgiveness piece though is key. But really one of the things for us is, I am more like Matthew, where I'm like, okay, what's the problem? Because I don't have time to have this problem. Let's just fix this so that we can, be friends again and have a great time. And Jeremy is more so like, I need space, right? And that's
I think
fine.
I'm the same way too. I'm the same way too. I was just thinking, I'm like, I think I have that same trait. So
yeah, like
I'll mute his mic next time so he can't disturb you.
And the space is not the issue, right? So one of the things that, like we had to have conversations about is, it is not me forcing you to talk to me. It is me telling you that I am more comfortable when you tell me, hey, I have this problem, but I need to talk to you about it later, and not just completely go silent, right? Because I think a lot of times what is often embarrassing to say is like, oh, my feelings are hurt when I'm being ignored, or, anything like that. And so it makes, like Sierra said, just creating that safe space, right? So for us, it's more so about communicating like, hey, I just need a little bit of space and time, and then we can come back and talk about it. But for me, it's like, you get your space and time, right? That is the compromise. You get your space and time, but you do have to talk about it, because what we don't want is for this thing to continue to grow. Because oftentimes it's something when you guys like blow up at each other and things like that, y'all not even blowing up at each other about the actual issue. You just kind of let that issue sit, and then it grew and then it grew. And that one thing, broke the camel's back, and now it's a big old mess. So that's the biggest thing for us. Like, yes, we work on that forgiveness piece, but then the other thing is making sure that we're not creating this physical distance. Because oftentimes, you get mad and it's like, well, you stay on your side of the bed and I'm going to stay on my side of the bed, and that's going to be that. And it's like, no, we're not going to do that. So the angrier we get, the closer we need to be, because we know that when you're close to each other, you release, oxytocin and all of these endorphins and things like that. You release all these bonding hormones. So it's like, no, if I'm angry at you, I need to be close to you. We don't have to talk about it, but I do need to be close to you, because I need my body and my brain to remember that I love you and why I love you, instead of me just turning around and being
That's
like,
good.
you know what? Well, I'm upset, so I never want to talk
That's
to you
good.
again.
Yes, Asia.
Look, come through with it, Asia.
Yes.
Asia hit us with the
Yes.
science. What?
And just to add on to that as well, since we're talking and whatnot, I love that key point, or that key piece that we've had since day one, and that's, we're not going to bed mad at each other, right? And one thing I had to get over with that was getting out of my own way, because it really wasn't her. If I'm in control of the situation, or I'm leading from the front, then I should be able to have some emotional intelligence to realize that, okay, life is 90%, of what happens to you, or 90% of how you respond to the 10% of what happens to you. All right. So no, we have those rules that we put in place, but we've also grown into those rules, because it took a lot of development, a lot of growth, a lot of tears. You know what I'm saying? So I'm excited about the road that we're on. So I think the biggest piece was getting out of each other's way, allowing each other the space, and also the respect for one another too. So yeah.
All right. Everybody got in and got a little bit of that. That's what I'm talking about. Hey, so we halfway through the questions, not including the amazing bonus question. I can't wait for that one. So I want to take a pause right here because a few of our couples have some announcements and we haven't gotten into that. So I think, let me see, eeny, meeny, miny, mo. No, let's start with the couple that's been quiet the longest because everybody has been expounding on their AWOL concept and, you really got the momentum started. So can we get, or are you ready to give us your announcement, Brittany and Demont?
The question is, are y'all ready? No, I'm playing. Yeah, we are. Want to say it? We're getting married.
Come on, you gotta give us more than that. Give us some story or something. You know what I'm saying? What happened?
So let me.
What happened?
I'll share all the tea. So there was because this whole engagement was a headache. There were so many lies I had to tell, so many arguments I had to have about not getting married, and just, I mean, it was a headache. Like I'm bald. I shave every day, and I had a bald spot from the stress. But there was so I don't even remember how long ago it was now that I talked to her parents and called them up, and well, actually I do. So there were 2 times 2 years ago, actually at the Fashion for Life fashion show 2 years ago. I told her dad. We were all hanging around. I forget the name of the club, that the first event that it was at. I said to her dad, I said, I'm gonna marry that woman. And then, we were all hanging out, drinking whatever. And I forget what he said to me. And he was like, that's something you really feel, we can have a conversation, right? So later, I'd say maybe 6 months to a year, I guess, later, as I got closer to real planning, her and I were in HEB, just walking around, and I called them, and I had to sneak away, and I called them and had the conversation with the both of them, asking for their blessing in marrying her. And then from there, sort of the planning began, and there were so many different ideas. I just saw this little blurb, but and then the planning began, and there were so many different ideas and so many different dates. And so I had given her parents a date, said it's going to happen around this time or on this date. And her and I took a trip, or I planned a trip that was supposed to be for her birthday. We ended up changing the date, and because we changed the date, I didn't do it. It was like I wanted to do it on a different day, on a day that was like more meaningful. So ended up having to like change up the event. We got back from the trip, and there were all these questions. It was like all these questions, like, what happened? Where's the ring? Blah, blah, blah. And I was like, oh, Lord.
You know who you are.
Had to answer all these questions. I'm like, oh, my God. As a matter of fact, while we were still on the trip, we were in an elevator, and you said something about it, I think. I can't even remember what it was. Like, somebody was like, oh, is there any news you have to share or something like that? And I was like, oh my God, like, and then I remember I was like, man, because originally it was supposed to happen on this trip, and so folks is asking questions. We got back, we were around all of our friends and everybody, and folks was like, where the ring at, Demont? Like what? Like what's up? Like, what's going on? And I was like, I need y'all to chill for a minute. And so started planning more things. And this one right here, she is so nosy. Like, so nosy. You can't make plans. You can't be on the phone with somebody without her being like, who are you talking to? Or like, what you talking about, right? And so all the way leading up to the day before proposal, I had to tell her, I was like, I gotta go wash my car. And she was like, but you just washed the car. And I'm like, yeah. So I had to make a call to set up some different arrangements or not different arrangements, to make arrangements. So we ended up going to doing a painting with a twist thing, and had this painting done with family and friends. And I had to think about who can be there because I know she wants people there, who can be there without it being a thing that was completely thrown that would give it away. So I lied and said that it was my buddy's idea to attend. I was like, oh, my friend is doing this whole painting with a twist thing. Do you want to go? And so with family, I was like, okay, we can't tell this person to go. We can't tell this person to go. And I was like, my mom can't be there. My grandmother can't be there. Like, there's certain people who can't go because if they're there, then it just would throw it all off. But I wanted to make sure her parents were there and some friends of mine and some family as well. But so the day of, we show up. I show up hella early, y'all, like super early to make sure everything is straight. We get there. She gets there, and one of my friends rolls the window down and was like, boy, you ready? She's right there. Luckily, she hadn't rolled her window down, or she hadn't gotten out of the car. So I had to tell him, like, chill out. And so we're getting ready to walk in, and she was like, where's Terrence? So Terrence is my friend that had gotten there early. She was like, where's Terrence? I was like, I don't know. I guess they're going into a different thing. So we're just sitting there. I'd set everything up with the family, with the organizers. We're painting, doing the whole thing. I made sure that my daughter was a part of it, and our son was a part of it as well. And so he called and he fumbled. He fumbled on the play. So let me just mention that. So his role in the whole thing. So our 13-year-old, he was supposed to call and say to her, hey, Mom, what are you doing August 2nd of 2024? She picks up the phone. Go and tell him what you said when you picked up the phone.
I basically blew him off because a 13-year-old he just has this issue of calling and saying random things. So I thought that this was just another one of his like random conversations and questions. Like, he just likes to talk. And so I was like, boy, what are you talking about? I don't know what we're doing next year. So I hung up. I literally hung up on him. He called back again and asked me the same question. And I'm like, I don't know. Like, I'm painting right now. I gotta go. Mm-hmm. Hung up on him again. He calls back a third time, asks the same question. And now I'm frustrated and confused because I'm like, why do you keep asking me this? And then finally he said,
So I basically said, I think what Rydell, who's our son, I said, I think what he's trying to say to you is, and then I got down on a knee and proposed and did the whole thing. It was a long drawn out process. Very long drawn out process.
You hung in there.
Man.
He hung in there.
You have no idea. You have no idea. Like,
that's awesome.
Yeah, that sounded like that was rough. That sounded like that was rough. But congratulations.
Yes, congratulations.
But that's not the only announcement. Somebody else has an announcement.
No, he's talking
I'm
about you.
just sitting up there. Jeremy
we
acting
do?
like his screen frozen or something.
All right, he's talking
I
about
didn't know
some
we were
Sierra and
next.
Gary.
Yeah, I said Sierra and
Um,
Gary. Yeah, yeah, we are due November 5th. Yeah,
Yay!
Congrats.
I'm excited about it. Thank you all. Thank you all. His name is Rowan Elias, so we're super excited about that.
Beautiful.
I'll let you go.
I'm like, that's why we're in the bed. And when I tell y'all, I have been the foggiest person I have ever been. Y'all were not lying when y'all said pregnancy brain is a real thing. But yeah, hold on. Here's his little butt. There he is.
Aww.
We got 4 weeks left,
Mm.
and I'm like excited, but I'm also losing my mind because who allowed me to be somebody's mom? So, yeah, no, we're excited. I think the biggest thing was, I mean, it did come as a surprise, right? We talked about marriage, we talked about a family and all of this stuff, but like we didn't think it was going to happen this fast, right? But what's funny is the scariest thing was actually telling his daughter that we were having a baby, because I remember he used to tell me all the time, like, yeah, my daughter would tell my exes all the time, like, I am my dad's only child. It is just me. I hope y'all understand that and all of this. And so he put me up to it, like, well, you got to tell her. I'm like, that's not that's not fair. So
They best friends. It made sense.
I mean, yes, but that's a different dynamic, right? So but yeah, no, we were like, I think it was like a Saturday morning, and we like FaceTimed her and put this ultrasound in front of the camera, and she's like, is that a baby? I'm like, yeah. She's like, wait, is that y'all baby? We're like, yeah. She's like, is that my baby? I'm like, yeah. She's like, oh my God. So once we found out that she was okay, I mean, obviously he was gonna come anyway. But once we found out that she was okay, it just made the experience that much better, because I very much do love his daughter, and was like, I need her to be included in everything. And I want to make sure that she knows that, like, yes, there's a new baby or whatever, but you're always going to be his baby. You know what I mean? You're always going to be daddy's girl. So yeah, things are coming along. So like I said, we got 4 weeks left. I'm hoping that he waits to November, because my parents aren't traveling until November, and we are good to go.
Yeah.
Man, congratulations.
Congrats.
Congratulations. We got an engagement, a baby coming. Man, somebody in here trying to surprise me with something else? No? Okay. All right. Woo,
Sierra.
long sip.
No, we clown like this in real life. This is really who we
We see. All right. Next question. I thought this was an interesting one. What are your short-term couple goals? And let's be specific. What are your short-term couple goals? And I'll just throw this out to whoever wants to answer first.
You don't want to short-term goals, though?
Our short-term couple goals are just getting married, planning for wedding, and getting all those things. So getting married, planning for wedding.
Yeah, it's been so much happening, so much going on, and I feel like we're finally in a space of like just trying to protect our peace and boundaries. I think so much has happened where we've been focused so much on other people. And so it's definitely a goal of ours right now to focus more on us in our wedding in the DR. So we're excited about that.
If y'all got any extra invites laying around, I would love to be invited. You know what I'm saying? I might be able to even get a date by then. So you okay? You know what I'm saying? Anybody else?
For us. Our short-term goal is we're working on our finances, and financially things are great, but we're also aligning, streamlining, and making sure that we've got things in order. You know, we love shopping, we love fashion, right? But there's a time and a place for everything, and we had to reel it in for a while, you know, just kind of dial it back a little bit in order to make sure that our finances were where they needed to be, and that we have our budget in place, and making sure that we are contributing to our savings, and just doing all the financial things that we know to do, and we're responsible in that way. We pay our bills and all that stuff, but just making sure that we have our sights set on what our long-term goal is. In order to reach our long-term goal, we have to set smaller short-term goals. So that's what we're focused on right now.
That's what I'm talking about. That's a good goal right there. I'm gonna work on that too.
And we're kind of in the same boat as well with finances, and just kind of making sure that that's in order as well, but also making sure that we're getting closer to God, you know, making sure that we're taking the initiative with that, not waiting around to put things to happen, just kind of like diving into the word and making sure that we're doing everything the way that he would like us to do instead of what we would like to do. Because we'll get there as long as we follow those his footsteps. Also family, you know, like we have our son on the way, so that's another thing that we're working on strengthening as well, making sure that we continue to add and bring those principles that we're trying to practice into our whole entire family, you know. Finances, education wise. So as far as that is concerned, we're looking to kind of add more skill sets to our repertoire, I should say, right, as a couple. So we've been looking at that too. But that's pretty. Do you have anything?
No, I mean, I really think that's pretty much it. Working on our finances, working on, like he said, just expanding that skill set and making sure that we're not like a one-trick pony, because there's so much that we want to, you know, give his daughter, give our son, and all of that. So just making sure, like, you know, Rochelle said, focusing on the smaller so that we can reach our long-term goals of, you know, financial freedom, or just being able to get up and go whenever we want to. So that's really it. And then just, you know, like setting aside that time to make sure that we have similar mindsets when it comes to parenting and family and all of that stuff, but like really taking the time to sit down and make sure that we're a united front, because one thing I never want to happen is that it looks like we're a house divided.
Well, the universe must be aligned because everybody is working on their finances. Okay, so Rochelle, you open up Pandora's box. Gary's feeling like he's in shackles right now. Okay, because I have cracked down on our budget.
Mm-hmm.
So much so, no, seriously though, so much so Gary called, this is the funny, right? This is how we roll. Gary called, you know, I thought I don't have no money, man.
And get it.
He said, no, I don't know where you want me to, you know, shop from, where I'm doing this from, but we are actively working. We are actively working on aligning our finances. Again, we're both financially well, but I think when you're trying to work on what does that future look like, and so short term, we're working on having more honest conversations about what do we want for ourselves, right, in the long term, and how can we combine and still keep our individuality when it comes to finances. I think it's a very scary thing when you think about mixing your coins. You know what I mean? You know that. You know, it's this and this. Hey, listen, hey. If something were to happen, you got to part ways. You want to be able to clean break it, you know, and that's just real. Oh, you see? Oh, and so it makes it a little bit more difficult when you're trying to feel safe in the financial space together as one, but then also you're trying to protect yourself at the same time. Like, I'm gonna give 2 cents. I ain't gonna give my whole nickel. Yeah, I'm gonna give 2 cents and see what they should do with that. You know, but we're working on that, and I think we're doing a really good job. And I really just appreciate Gary for trusting my leadership when it comes to me trying to arrange our finances together. I mean, he's really good on his own, but just I think that you have to know what your strengths and weaknesses are in a relationship. And so he is doing a really good job with trusting me to keep us in order. So I appreciate that. Thank you, love.
Yay! Yeah, I think, and it is. It's a little piece of everything. What you all said, and also finding that peace too for ourselves because we're busy. We kind of stay busy with things outside of each other. So we realized that on our trip we took just not too long ago on the cruise, and we just knew that this is something that we need to do. Get a little bit more time for ourselves, get that peace, and then too, with the finances because of looking at our future. So all that plays a part. So, yeah.
Hey, I ain't trying to start no trouble, but did y'all notice that the engaged and married couples, they had one representative speak for them, and then the single couples both answered? Y'all see that?
Still got something to say.
I ain't talking about nobody. I'm just talking about what I'm talking about.
Right.
I'm reading from the script that she gave me when I walked in. So
y'all need a new script writer. Then, if that's the case. Y'all need a new script writer. That script ain't working. All right. This one is rough. So I'm not going to give this to anybody. I'm going to let y'all pick. But the next question, once infidelity has occurred in a relationship, how hard is it to come back from, and is the relationship ever the same? And if anybody just wants to talk philosophically about this and not experientially, that's okay.
I think there's a really good book. There are several really good books about this very topic by some very renowned writers and marriage therapists. But I think in my personal belief, I think if you can deal with root causes, acknowledge and take ownership of what occurred, I do believe that you can come back from it, and that relationships can be better if you can get through together.
Yeah, I don't think a relationship is ever the same. Because you go through multiple things, right? You go through the hurt and then of course there is that level of forgiveness, but then there's also triggers even after that level of forgiveness. And so yes, I believe that it could either strengthen it or it can break it. And so I don't think that it is ever the same. And you have to make that conscious decision of whether or not you want to move forward with the relationship or you don't, whether or not you think that you can come out on the other side of it or not. It really is a decision that you have to make for you. I am not, and I don't think that he would ever give someone advice to, you should go ahead and stay in that relationship. Like that is your decision. That is what you think that you can go through and experience, or what you think that you can overcome. And if you believe that you can overcome it, great, but ultimately it's a decision that you have to make and decide whether or not it is something that you can come back from. But I do believe that no, it is never the same, because those triggers can always be there throughout your relationship. And so eventually you have to learn how to navigate even through those triggers, and figure out whether or not it is something that you can that is sustainable, right? Whatever it is, whatever the solution is, to be able to go through those triggers, or whenever they pop up and you experience them, is this thing sustainable? If I'm going to choose to spend the rest of my life with this person, is this solution for this trigger sustainable? And can I continue to maintain this? Or am I going to get to a place of like, yeah, I don't want to do that anymore. I don't want that to continue to be a trigger for me, or I don't want to continue to go through any of that anymore. And so, so no, it is definitely not the same, but it looks different from everyone in terms of determining whether or not you can come back from it. That is your choice and your decision.
Brittany, I think you spoke
Well
well when it came to that, and I concur 100% with her sentiment, right? And I don't think anyone is standing in a place of judgment, right? No one's in a place to stand in a place for judgment, because to her point, it's what you can handle. What I can handle may not be what somebody else can handle. And so no one can judge or sit on high and look down low like, couldn't be me. It may not could be you, but I'm not you, right? And so speaking for me personally, I've dealt with relationships that infidelity was there. And I can speak personally for myself and say that for me, infidelity has always been a deal breaker for me. But again, that's my personal choice and that's me. And so in my last relationship, my mom was always saying to me, Sierra, you need to have more patience in your relationships. Like, everything doesn't have to be a deal breaker, right? And so, you try to exercise those things, and okay, people make mistakes, and some things are forgivable and some things you can grow through and learn together, right? So in my last relationship, I tried to exercise that principle and forgive an infraction. And to a previous thing we talked about forgiving, right? I said out of my mouth, I forgive you, but in my mind, I was already checked out of the relationship. Not checked out as far as I'm looking over here and looking over there. I was checked out emotionally. Like, I checked out because you made a conscious choice to carry on conversations. You made a conscious choice to do whatever you did or whatever you say you didn't do. Whatever transpired was a conscious decision that you decided to take part in, whether one time or multiple times. And for that, I can't forgive that you laid by me, or just get for years, or over a year, or 5 years, or 3 years, you did that. And so that was a conscious decision, right? So you manipulated and lied for a few years, and I'm just learning this year. So anyway, I say that to say, when you make a decision to move forward, I had already checked out, right? And so I was like, Sierra, I feel like I'm wasting my time because I'm already checked out of it, but I'm trying to, be patient and forgive. And so stayed in the situation, and I learned another infraction, right? So second infraction, I'm done, right? I was done. And so it wasn't any anger it was anger and hurt on the first infraction, but not the second infraction. The second infraction, I was already emotionally done. So it was like, hey, you might want to call her, see what's going on. Like, literally, that's how I handled it. And there was no anger because I was already checked out. And so then I became angry with myself because I went against my own principle and what I believe and the standard I set for myself. And so the anger was to me. Like, I went against my principle trying to do what worked for somebody else. Doesn't mean it's going to work for me, because that's not who I am innately as a person, as a woman, right? And so I said to say, Brittany hit a very valid point. No one can stand in judgment. I roll how I roll, but I can't judge anybody else for how they roll, right? And so never judge somebody. You don't know what they're dealing with. You know what they're going through. But also, don't try to push your agenda on people. Just because you roll that way, don't try to force your people to roll like you roll. That may not work for them. People aren't wired the same, right? And so everyone's circumstance is different. And so I will say that I upfront, moving forward, and I did this in the past, but I'm very sure that I know that's not okay for me. And so I make sure that I facilitate that information up front so that everyone can make a choice and know that if this happens, I'm out. And there is no conversation to be had. I'm not even angry with you. You made your choice, but this is my choice. And so that's not given in a threatening kind of way. That's just, hey, this is who I am. Tell me who you are. And if I want to keep you, I'm going to make sure I stay away from these deal breakers that I know that you come with. So I don't know if you had something to add or not.
No, to that point, it can do one or two things, make it or break it. And I think in a situation for me, in a case like that, I think I would want to know why. It kind of what took you to that point. Was it something that I was ignoring, maybe in the relationship that I wasn't taking care of or not doing consciously, or not knowing through lack of communication? So I guess once I get to that point, then I start thinking, do I want to have a side eye for the rest of this relationship because of trust? So it's a conversation definitely to be had. But yeah, one or two things, make it or break it.
I'm checking brother Matthew out over here.
Matthew has a nice hat on, man. Matthew, we like that hat, brother. Oh, we see his hat, and it's kind of fly.
I was wondering if Matthew was out of town. He's been driving the whole time we've been on. Like, anybody else before we get to this bonus question that I've been excited about all night? That's not the bonus question. For Gary, y'all, here's the bonus question.
Oh, no.
And just for y'all's information, some of y'all might not be familiar with this term, but I got to give credit to the Smiths for this. This question is probably one of the most awesome relationship questions that I've seen ever. What does it mean to terraform your relationship? And just to help y'all out, terraform is to transform so that it is suitable for supporting life. Also, it's a code in your infrastructure that allows you to build, change, and implement updated versions. And I just feel like this question is genius. So what does it mean to you to terraform your relationship, to make sure that it is suitable for supporting the life that you want together? And it's also gives you the ability to build, change, and implement updated versions of your relationship. Such an awesome question. Thank you for that one.
It's a great question. And it was actually Matthew's question, and I don't see him. I think I don't know if he fell off the line. Looks like he's coming back on. So, all right, here's your question, babe.
I'm here. Can you guys see me?
Yeah.
Yes.
We see that hat, man. You looking pretty fly over there. We all kind of couch slouching, and you look amazing. So, shout out to our Fashion for Life.
Fashion for life. Well, the word terraform is a word that has to do with transforming an environment to make it conducive for someone. That's very important. So when I think of terraforming my relationship, I think about creating an atmosphere so that my wife can exercise her ability to be whoever she needs to be. And ultimately, what it means is you create this environment so that person can be what you need them to be, to support you and to encourage you. And that's the idea of terraforming. Basically, you're transforming an atmosphere to make it conducive for someone to be even more important and visible in your life. And from a theological standpoint, if I am terraforming the universe,
or the earth as a believer, it means that I am seeking to transform this culture so that this culture might be conducive to receive the King of Kings. That's what that basically means theologically. In a relationship, I'm terraforming or transforming my relationship in such a way so that my wife can um, be in this environment her very best. That's the idea. I'm cautiously and creatively transforming an atmosphere so that she can be the best that she can be. And that's, if that mindset is a mindset that permeates our minds and our relationships overall would be so much better. If I create an atmosphere so that the other person can be their very best, um, I'm inclined to believe that would be um, a very, very successful relationship. That's the idea of terraforming.
We had to hang in there so the teacher could teach.
Drop them gems.
Yeah.
Anybody else want to jump in?
Well, when I think about this idea, essentially what I think about is as you grow together, you are also growing individually, and so like your relationship has to make accommodations to support your individual growth, in order for you to grow together. Which which can be hard because over time you can get stuck into you can get stuck in routines, and if you're similar to what Pop said, like if you're not allowing for your partner to grow or to be their best selves, then you might find yourself single. um, or having a lot of complications because your partner is growing and is this new person, and so you have to acknowledge that growth, for what it is, and so allowing for growth within your relationship, and a transformation within your relationship as you both grow and become different people. I know, I mean, just the 6 years that her and I have been together, I am definitely not the same person that I was when her and I met. Um, some of the same things that I did, said, believed, thought, like they don't work for our relationship today. And so to that idea, I'm assuming some things that work today may not work 5 years from now. So allowing for our growth within our relationship as we grow, individually.
I love that.
Yeah.
That was beautiful. I'll piggyback and say that, and as far as we're concerned, um, you say you're not the same person you were 6 years ago. I'm not the same person I was in October of last year this time, right? I've learned, I've always thought I was wise, right, when it came to just understanding people and emotions and things of that nature. But I will say that this is probably the most knowledgeable relationship I've ever been a part of because I'm actually able to learn from my partner. And I'm really enjoying and basking in this place of learning from my partner. And, he's teaching me patience, and he's teaching me to not be so quick tempered about certain things, and to give people grace. And those on this call, most of them know me intimately. They're like, yeah, he need to teach you that. Yeah. And so I just really am enjoying learning that from Gary, and us being able to feed each other in our relationship. And Demont made a very valid point. What works today may not work in 6 months or a year or even 6 years from now. And so we are very sensitive to our growth and evolvement individually and as a couple. And we're very open to the change. And when something occurs, our communication lines are super open. And we have always had great communication. There were times when we first met that me and Gary, he would come over and hang out, and we would literally sit on these little green couches I have right across from each other for hours. I mean, like 3 to 4 hours, no TV on, no nothing, just conversation. And there were many nights like that. And those were probably the most quality relationship dates, times I've ever had. And so I just say that our communication has always been top tier. Gary's an amazing communicator in learning how to facilitate his feelings and being vulnerable and being open. And that's something that I love and desire about him a lot. So
I cry a lot. No, I'm kidding. No, I appreciate that. Thank you so much. Yeah, Sierra is a little bit more fast paced than me. She, we do have a lot of projects and things going on, and but she shines in that light, in that zone. So it's what she likes to do. Sometimes I'm like, whoa, let's slow down and let's think about it. But when she's in that zone, and I know that's what makes her happy, I let her do her thing, and then I get in on her vibe of what's going on, and it causes me to make that change a little bit too as well. So the communication, allow somebody to do what makes them happy, and understanding that, and letting it be, I think, is a part of terraforming your relationship.
She might not feel like it, but it felt like Asia was looking at me like, say something else. Say something else. Anybody else?
I was just gonna say, I mean, pretty much, everyone's pretty much saying what we think, but it's just that when it comes to that transformation, just knowing that like every day is a choice to choose the other person, right? And so it's just like I can't be in a space to want to create this environment for you if I don't choose you every day, right? Whether I like you that day, whether you've made me upset that day, whether you've made me happy that day, because I know we'll always love each other, but we won't always feel the same about each other, right? Day to day. And so just knowing that like I have to make that choice to choose you every day, but I also have to be willing to be uncomfortable. Growth is not comfortable, right? And so I can't grow if, I never get out of my comfort zone, or I never, take the time to say, okay, this is something like, Gary said, this is something that this person thoroughly enjoys. I may not like it at all, but this really makes him happy, right? So it's not going to kill me to set aside some time and be like, you know what, this is what you like to do. Because when you create that environment to set the temperature in your home and all of this stuff, and it's like, oh, this person really cares about me. They allow me to be me. They allow me to do these things. They allow me to make mistakes. They allow me to grow from these mistakes and all of these things. So in turn, I want to do that for them. And so you just keep piggybacking off of each other. But it really boils down to like, I have to make that conscious decision every day. And then I have to be willing to be uncomfortable, because I can't grow. And this won't work. It won't go anywhere if we don't continue to grow.
Yeah, it's just about staying green and growing, especially as a couple. Every aspect of development we'll have to go through as a couple, you know what I'm saying? And she'll be able to see it. I'll be able to see her. So even with the baby, like just seeing this whole process makes me want to serve her more every day. I find different ways to serve her every single day. And I think that that's a form of terraforming the relationship, because it takes me out of my comfort zone as far as when it comes to building a relationship, helping it develop, working through situations, making sure I'm holding myself accountable, putting myself in her shoes, trying to make sure that I understand what's going on through her head before I start trying to impose my will or my faith in the situation.
That's it.
I want to make sure that every single day, like she said, it's a choice. It's a choice that I wake up every single day and want to choose her. It's a choice for me to want to serve her and find different ways of doing that. So, making sure that we keep up with that personal development, though, is key. Personal, financial development, spiritual development, physical development, all of that, and working together in that.
Yep.
Nice. Nice. John, I would just add, I was going to say what Jeremy said, which is personal development is really important. And I think part of being able to terraform your relationship is making sure that you're also taking time to take personal assessment within yourself, understanding perhaps areas that we need to grow, or that perhaps that are contributing to some of the hindrances or stumbling blocks or barriers to the relationship growth. But without us taking personal assessment, or even being honest and being vulnerable enough to take critique from those that are closest to us. The Bible says iron sharpens iron. And so we have to be able to sharpen one another, but also be willing to be sharpened and be willing to hear and understand and accept perhaps some areas that, whether it's God that reveals it to us or just through personal assessment or personal reflection, those areas where we need to grow and continue to mature or bend or flex or whatever it is. I think those are critical also to creating a platform where we can terraform our relationship.
I hope I don't open the can of worms by saying this, but I want to agree with all the things, but I also believe that there is a level of almost kind of confidence within yourself, your relationship, when you allow your partner to grow and evolve in that relationship, and to not be threatened by their growth, and them evolving, but more so you being open and receptive, or challenging yourself to be more open and receptive as they are growing and evolving, because at some point you're going to need that partner to be the same for you, or whether it happens at the same time. And so definitely got to make sure that you have that confidence within yourself to allow your partner to be able to grow and evolve, because ultimately it can help grow and evolve your relationship. And so you definitely got to make sure that you're not threatened by that growth, but more so inspired by it.
You didn't open up no can of worms. That was right on time. That was right on time.
Brittany, you'd be surprised how many relationships have unfriendly competitions. It's like internal. It's like I want to see you shine, but not more than me, right? And so they say the same things about people want to see you do good, but not doing better than them. It's the same thing in some relationships where you almost have to dim your light because this person wants to shine all the time. And it's like, why? But when you shine, I shine. When I shine, you shine. So when it's your turn, right? Allow me to have my time. And you hit that right on the nail, because I've always felt like I had to dim my light to make other people feel significant. And I don't have that now. And so this is a new space for me where I'm with a partner that knows how to support and encourages and loves my shine. But I also know that when it's his turn, I'm there to support. I'm not there as I am Sierra Parker, the brand. I'm there as Gary's lady, supporting what he has going on. And when Gary's supporting me, he's not there as Cassius Gray 68 Muffin Man, right? Mr. Muffin Man. He's there as Sierra's guy. And so that's huge. And so I'm glad that you shared that.
Yeah, no, it's an amazing feeling to be able to have a partner to be able to not only challenge you, but support you in that growth, because they know what you're capable of, and they're able to celebrate you as well too, just as much as they also want to be celebrated. Tells me all the time, like, especially when it comes to hosting Fashion for Life. Like, he loves seeing me in that element. Trust me, he's gonna get his shine too, right? When he's walking down that stage or modeling or whatever. But he tells me all the time that he loves to be able to see me in those elements, and I love to see him in his. And so it's definitely a beautiful, beautiful thing to watch your person grow, because, like I said, it pushes you and it inspires you, and you know that growth is not only on purpose, but it's for a purpose, and that purpose could ultimately be for you all's relationship. So
Yeah, we're gonna do some housekeeping before we close out here. When Matthew gets back, y'all let him know that me, him, and Gary. Sorry, Jeremy. Sorry, Demont. Y'all still all black. Y'all don't got no gray, so y'all can't be part of this. But we're gonna take us a photo shoot. The gray beards, we're gonna do that. Brittany, Demont, yeah. Again, y'all got an extra, throwaway invitation. Holla at your boy. Jeremy, Asia, y'all send me the baby registry or something. You know what I'm saying? We running out of time. So ASAP, make that happen. And Sierra, I'm calling it. We're going to do this again in 2024, but we're going to do it in person. I'm going to hit up some of my production people. We're going to do this in person. I'm calling it right now. So
yes, I'm here for it.
Yeah. So again,
I'm on the space already. Don't even worry about it.
I'll have to approve the space, you know what I'm saying? Because production value, you know what I'm saying? Well, we got to get lighting and cameras and all that. So, you know what I'm saying? I got to approve it. All right. My people's got to approve it. But listen, thank y'all all so much again for the updates and for that amazing question and all of these amazing answers. I'm going to look over this a couple of times because y'all really encouraged me. And, wait, is Matthew coming back? No.
No, I had to go to the restroom. My apologies.
We thought you would change out.
Hey, man. Yeah, you don't need a permission slip here. We all grown.
Yeah.
But we're gonna let Gary go because it's past his bedtime. But we appreciate you hanging in there with us, brother. You know what I'm saying? And I'm talking all that noise. It's a little bit past my bedtime too. So, I can't. But thank y'all all again. We're going to do this really, really soon. Thank you for everybody that's tuned in. We will catch you next time. And until then, y'all have an amazing night. We love you. God loves you more.